One way of evaluating the greatness of a painting, in my view, is by letting the image speak to you every time you look at it. If anything new or different is revealed, you can rest assured that the painting is alive and complete. This is undoubtedly the case of Diego Velázquez's large canvas known as Las Meninas, executed in 1656 in the old Caserón del Alcázar de los Asturias in Madrid. By the 19th century, Velázquez's enigmatic piece was acknowledged as a very important work that no serious scholar or artist could ignore. Pablo Picasso was no exception, and he revisited the painting 3 centuries later with the intention of producing his own version of the masterpiece. The outcome of his research was 58 canvases. The first and main canvas, which you can see on the screen, was completed and dated on the 17th of August 1957, and the last one was dated 30th of December that same year. So the whole series took roughly 4 months to complete. We know the precise dates because Picasso was in the habit of dating all his work. In this talk, we will mainly address Picasso's Meninas. I will refer to precise information provided by his friends Jaume Sabartés and Josep Palau i Fabra. This drawing portrays Sabartés, and it was drawn by Picasso soon after they met in Barcelona when they were both 17 years old. Sabartés was an artist as well as an intellectual, highly respected in the milieu of Picasso and his friends. Years later, Jaume became Pablo's private secretary, a post that he held until his death. Their friendship lasted 70 years. He donated his collection of the artist's work to the Barcelona City Council in order to create the Picasso Museum in Barcelona. The museum occupies 5 large palaces dating from the 13th to the 15th centuries. Josep Palau i Fabra was a Catalan poet and writer as well as a scholar. He had known Picasso for 2 decades, and he has written 25 monographs on the artist and his work. He died last year at the age of 91. Picasso gave him the title of official biographer, and it was with the help of Palau i Fabra that in May 1968 the complete Meninas series was transferred from France to Barcelona. The artist's gesture was in memory of his old and faithful friend Jaume Sabartés, who died that same year. Sabartés quotes Picasso, recalling a conversation with the artist dating from 1950. If one were to set about copying Las Meninas, and if that person were me, I would reach a point in which I would ask myself, what about moving this figure a little towards the right or towards the left? Then I would try to continue the painting in my own way, forgetting Velázquez. Having slightly moved the figure would force me to modify the light in the picture or to change it completely even. In this way, little by little, I would paint Meninas that would appear horrendous to the professional copyist. They would not be at all like the Meninas of Velázquez. They would be my Meninas. And indeed, during the summer of 1957, Picasso set about painting his very own Meninas in the villa he had bought a couple of years earlier in Cannes. La Californie was a large building with ample rooms and high ceilings. Situated on the French Riviera, the house was blessed by the Mediterranean sun as well as the most wonderful views of the peaceful sea. A very different space from the somber rooms of the Alcázar, where the original Meninas was born. To avoid visitors and distractions, he moved away from the ground floor, settling on the top story among his pigeons. He had built with his own hands a pigeon loft on the balcony of one of the larger rooms that he converted into a working studio. In his book titled The Secret of Picasso's Meninas, Josep Palau i Fabra mentions 5 elements to be taken into consideration before embarking on the study of Picasso's series. We will use these components as a chronology and structure for its reading. The first is a black and white photograph of Velázquez's painting bought by Sabartés on Picasso's instructions, which was pinned on the wall of the studio where the series was made. The second is the artist's first visit to the Prado in 1895, which coincided with the family's return to Malaga from Galicia. Pablo was then 13 years old. The third, as we will see, was connected with his visit to Rome in 1917, when the artist met his first wife, Olga Koklova. Clouzot's daring film, Le Mystère Picasso, dating from 1955, which portrays the artist at work, is the fourth. And last, but not least, there is the profound emotional crisis the painter was suffering at the time he painted Las Meninas, a state of mind that he exploited as he had done many times before to break new ground in his work. Pablo's first visit to Madrid's National Museum is particularly important because the boy was very unhappy. He was experiencing the painful side of love, as he was denied the acquaintance of a young girl called Ángeles Méndez Gil, daughter of a wealthy and powerful Galician family. There are letters exchanged between them where Ángeles complained to Pablo about the restrictions and reprimands she had to endure from her parents in their attempt to stop a relationship between the two adolescents. As if this wasn't enough, the family were mourning the recent death of Conchita, Picasso's child sister. The image on the screen is a drawing of Calabacilla, the dwarf that Velázquez had painted in his late 30s, which the young Picasso copied on his first visit to the Prado. Next to him, we see another transcription, this time of Niño de Vallecas, another dwarf painted by Velázquez 6 years after Calabacilla's portrait. Perhaps these two drawings suggest young Pablo's state of mind. He was not very tall himself, an issue that he acknowledged with annoyance on several occasions. We could assume that he felt some empathy with the fate of the royal dwarfs, on call 24 hours a day, dutifully pleasing the monarchs and their offspring, just as he was trying to please teachers and family with his drawings and paintings. What's more, among the servants and royals of Velázquez's painting, he may well have recognized his own place within the social hierarchy that denied him his affections for well-to-do Ángeles. This drawing here was made 2 years later, during 1897 and 1898, when Picasso moved to Madrid to study at the Academia de San Fernando, the most prestigious art school in the country. We know that Picasso's fascination for Velázquez was inherited from his father, who was also a painter. This early reverence for the old master must have had a lasting impact on the young painter that would bear fruit in later life. While in the Spanish capital, Picasso was able to wander around the galleries of the Great Museum and draw and sketch at leisure. He made a copy of the portrait of Philip IV, as we can see on the screen. Here he depicts María Agustina Sarmiento, the Infanta Margarita María de Austria, and the dog, taken from Las Meninas. The identity of the character with the hat is not known. The freehand style of these drawings reveals a desire to interpret rather than copy. Two ladies, a man and a dog. The cast could stand for Picasso's domestic arrangements throughout his life. Olga Koklova was a Russian ballerina, the daughter of an Ukrainian Tsarist military officer. She was in Rome, dancing in the popular Ballet Russe, founded by Diaghilev, the successful theatre manager from Russia. Picasso was also in Italy at the time, designing the backdrops and costumes for Parade, one of the ballets of the Russian impresario. Pablo and Olga fell in love, and he followed her around the city while she was rehearsing her parts in the different ballets. One of them was called Meninas. This ballet was premiered in the Teatro Eugenia Victoria in San Sebastián, northern Spain, on the 21st of August 1916. But it was also presented in Rome in the Costanzi Theatre, known today as Teatro della Opera, on the 9th of April the following year. The set was designed by the Italian painter Carlo Socrate, and the costumes were inspired by Velázquez's painting and designed by the Catalan painter Josep Maria Sert. This fresco in the Cathedral of Vic, north of Barcelona, is a sample of the very Baroque work of the Catalan artist, very much in tune with Velázquez's characters.